Right, so here we go again, and today, or at least at this moment, we are taking our block of for our binding, and I'm going to cut along this line as best I can to try to get a saving. So you see I've got what will be the top of the binding down. I've got my purfling line and then this, and this will be actually trimmed down a little later. I could do it all now, but we're a little tired, so go ahead and get you in here where you can kind of see what I'm up to and bring you in a little closer for the most part. Alright, so I've got my saw. I'm going to take this back end here and I'm going to come right on my line as close as I can to it and try to go down my line the whole way. This is a rip saw, so this should make a nice clean cut going this direction. All I gotta do is take it real easy and stay on my line. Okay, so after some cleanup, this will make a really nice binding. So obviously this side's a little bit wide, but that's okay. When I do the cleanup, I can take some of that depth off of there, and this will be really nice. And this is right about 2.5 millimeters right now. So after cutting on my line, so my line was set about 3.5–4 millimeters. Cut on my line, the curve of the saw takes out a little bit, and we have a really nice piece of binding. Now after cleanup, it'll all be uniform. I've got some thicker areas here, and of course some things that need to be cleaned up here. You can see rough edges around, but after putting it through the little binding and perforating thickener thing, just scraping it down, it'll be great. So there's one. The next step here is that I need to plane this side to make sure it's good and flat, and then I repeat this a few more times to get myself 4 pieces of binding. If this is your first time doing it, I'm using a rip saw. So if you look at the teeth on this saw, they are triangular and they are squared to the edge, and they just have a little bit of set to them. And this is about, if I look at about 1 inch, I've got about 6 teeth per inch, more or less. Okay, and that's a rip saw. I would either use this or I would use a Japanese pull saw with the rip function. I'll show you the distinction. This saw right here is a crosscut, and I need to back it up just a little bit so you can see those teeth. This is a crosscut, so this will go across the grain. The one I showed you previously was a rip cut. It goes with the grain. You want to use a rip cut, you can use a Japanese saw to pull through there. Whatever you do to make sure you follow that line as best you can. Notice I did a couple of different techniques following down here. So I follow my line. The saw is almost parallel with the grain, and as I cut, I angle it here and there to get varying amounts of cut. But I always come back to almost parallel this way with the board in order to follow my line. I do that a couple of times, and then I kind of take a deeper cut and then come back and follow my line a couple times, take a deeper cut in order to do that. So side cleanup is easy. Just take your longest plane, make sure it's square, clean up that edge. Alright, I've got a little bow in my board, so take a little bit more out of the middle, make my life a little easier. And that should be clean enough to go for my next round. So repeat 3–4 times.